I don't really want to do this interview anymore. If you want to find out what I know or tell me what you know, then don't interview me. Just you do your own stupid show. I'm trying to tell you something here, and you want to tell me how smart you are.
This is a recent interview with Robert Kiyosaki, where he is being an absolute madman. He's become so arrogant, and this kind of reminded me of why I hate this guy. So, who is Robert Kiyosaki? I'm sure many of you already know the answer to that question, but let me give you the answer in a way you've never heard before. Kiyosaki was born into a good family. His father's name is Ralph Kiyosaki, or should we call him his poor dad? Ralph worked hard to provide for the family. He worked as a teacher at the University of Hawaii for quite a few years. He then resigned and joined the Peace Corps training. Robert's dad's mission in life was peace, which is much greater than wealth, and that's why he never focused much on money or accumulating wealth, which clearly upset young Robert Kiyosaki. Robert's mum Marjorie was a nurse. She and Ralph had 4 kids together, but Robert happened to be the most ungrateful one. He went on to insult his dad in the book by referring to him as his poor dad. He made his real dad look like a fool in the book. He also insulted him at every possible podcast and interview by calling him his poor dad over and over again. Can you believe that Robert has a sister who is now a monk? Yes, her name is Emmy Kiyosaki. It amazes me how Robert and Emmy are clearly poles apart. Kiyosaki's net worth is estimated to be about $100 million, and he reportedly earns about $1 million each month from his investments. Everyone thinks that Robert made all his money from real estate, but is that actually true? How did he actually make all his money? When I looked at Robert's history, I saw that most of his businesses have actually failed. The book Rich Dad Poor Dad was mainly written so he could get out of bankruptcy. For those of you who think he is this noble genius who wants to share his knowledge to benefit the society, all I want to say is stop being so naive. I'm sure if you read your economics book in 9th grade, it would have been very similar to Rich Dad Poor Dad, but you'd rather listen to Robert's advice on how schools keep you poor and buy his book than read the book you already possess. Please stop believing everything on the internet, my friends. Now let's get back to dissecting Kiyosaki's business history. In 1977, Kiyosaki founded a business called Rippers, which marketed wallets like surfboards made of nylon and Velcro. These were the first wallets of their kind, and it seemed like a great idea to Robert. These wallets made its premiere in publications like Success Magazine, Runner's World, and Newsweek. Due to fierce international competition, this business ultimately failed and cost him so dearly, so Kiyosaki turned his attention to another direction. Robert Kiyosaki then attempted to collaborate and associate with the rivals in this business. He started a Velcro company. In the end, the same thing happened, and this company too filed for bankruptcy. On August 7, 2012, Rich Global LLC filed for bankruptcy in the Wyoming Bankruptcy Court. The business was required to pay the Learning Annex over $24 million. For those of you who don't know what the Learning Annex is, it's an education company that helped Robert market his famous book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. But Robert said he didn't have the money to pay Learning Annex. He then struck a deal with the Learning Annex where they would schedule events and book promotions in his name. Kiyosaki would give the Learning Annex a cut of the speaking engagement fees. Kiyosaki allegedly neglected to pay the Learning Annex for these expenses, and Learning Annex then took Kiyosaki to court where they won the battle and received the money from him, which resulted in the bankruptcy of Rich Global LLC. Robert seems to be a very careless man. Will Smith and Oprah also believed in Robert Kiyosaki and invested in his company, but they lost their money believing in him. Since Kiyosaki's business filed for bankruptcy, there have been doubts over whether or not he is a scam. As he continued to have a very high net worth and the company's bankruptcy didn't appear to have had much of an influence on his personal financial condition, it's clear that he may have seen this coming. He clearly knew that he wasn't really good at managing businesses, and he kept everything separate. By this I mean he formed different LLCs and got people to invest in his LLCs. No one invested in him, they invested in the LLCs, so if the company was about to go bankrupt, Robert wouldn't have to pay for the liabilities out of his own pocket. It's the LLC that is liable to pay for the losses. If you guys have watched Bad Boy Billionaires, it's close to what Robert did. He kind of took the movie Bad Boy Billionaires a little too seriously. This makes me question his financial success for a variety of reasons unrelated to his bankruptcies. These include details from his book. Forbes claims that there is no proof of Kiyosaki's wealth generation previous to his success with Rich Dad Poor Dad. This makes it clear that Kiyosaki's book was just a piece of fiction. In the end, I do feel that Robert Kiyosaki is a fraud. The bottom line is that despite the fact that he developed his company by offering sound business and wealth building advice, his own companies may not have always maintained sound financial standing. Then how does he still maintain his financial status? He goes on extorting people and getting them to pay for his financial education classes. So how does Kiyosaki prepare for his hunt? He first introduces us to his book, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This book costs just about $4.99. Its title draws you to it and kind of makes you wonder, and since it's only $4.99 you don't hesitate to buy it. He then introduces us to his educational seminars. The training begins with a free one-day instructional seminar that offers insightful commentary and guidance. That's what he says. The audience is then presented with a 3-day workshop, which costs about $500, where Robert claims that he would reveal secrets that he never revealed in the free training course. It just won't make sense to give everything away for free, right? The next step is a pricey course that can cost up to $45,000. This is his feast. He's finally caught the prey. He claims that this course's goal is to provide attendees with useful knowledge and money-making advice that will change their lives forever. But what do? They just keep promoting their consulting calls and various other services as you keep buying his courses. Why rob a bank when you can steal in broad daylight without getting into any trouble? I wondered how Kiyosaki was inspired to come up with such an idea, because if you think about it, he is literally one of the first online marketing gurus. We never really had many of those before. I'm sure a few years ago your YouTube homepage was filled with videos like They're Trying to Keep You Poor by Robert Kiyosaki or Schools Keep You Poor. So when I looked back at how Robert could have gotten this idea, after some research I found that he was working with the biggest multi-level marketing company. Can anyone take a guess? Yes, he was working with Amway, one of the first ever scam businesses out there. And sadly, my mum was one of those who fell for it. She used to try selling Amway products to her friends and family. Amway is literally one of the most well-known multi-level marketing, or MLM, businesses. The company tricks women, especially housewives. Amway made these women feel like they were wasting their lives and they should do something with it. They made these women feel like they were giving them a chance to make money and belong to a community. However, after buying these products, most women struggled to sell them because these products didn't do what they claimed to do. Kiyosaki was briefly employed, and I'm sure he got the idea of the scheme from Amway. He didn't really want to mention this in his book, because who would want to damage their reputation right before starting out a new venture that highly depends on your public image? For many years, I looked at Robert Kiyosaki as an idol who inspired people to quit their 9-to-5 and begin their journey to achieve financial freedom. But looking at the chain of services he provides after the book, it's clear that the book was just the bait. There are many people who have gotten into serious debt after taking Robert Kiyosaki's advice. However, some have definitely been successful, but I feel like they would have been as successful just by reading their economics textbook. He just turned your economics textbook into a storybook with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He made it seem like he was actually renting out real estate and making all this money when he clearly wasn't. He was just making up a story. Robert Kiyosaki has made a ton of money through this pyramid scheme and has inspired many people like Dan Lok and Grant Cardone to follow his footsteps and exploit vulnerable people just like he did. He made close to $1 million just by hosting one event. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a work of fiction, yet there are still some important lessons to be drawn from it. The book isn't a really bad purchase, but stay away from the events and the other services he offers. Rich Dad seminars by Kiyosaki could be more motivational than anything else. If you're seeking a step-by-step guide on how to acquire money through real estate and other investing strategies, Kiyosaki's book and seminars may not be the greatest choice. Robert Kiyosaki seems like the kind of guy who would do anything for money. He put his family in shame by insulting his poor dad repeatedly in the book. He never acknowledged his dad's hard work and dedication, but compared everything he did with his friend's dad, making his real dad feel inferior. In the book, he lies about how he made tons of money in real estate, but the truth is he started investing in real estate only after his book was a success. He used the money from the book and the seminar to generate over $1 million in monthly revenue from real estate. He has given bad or wrong advice to many people through his seminars, which have led them to drown in debt. I hate the online course space, and he is literally the reason why many people started selling online courses. He has also become very close to Trump, and I think that's the main reason he's been winning so many court cases. Do not enroll in any classes that demonstrate financial freedom for a fee from Robert Kiyosaki or anybody else. Do your research before joining any course. It's best to just stay away from seminars. The numerous court cases against Robert Kiyosaki have been unsuccessful, indicating that he has the support of certain influential people, which clearly is the Trump family. And this is the reason why I hate Robert Kiyosaki.